Right, so I'm moving your scan results over here. Okay, so basically I opened up this 29-page PDF, and it starts with a whole bunch of paragraphs that no one's going to read because it's really not user-friendly. So what we've got first off is just, voltage, amperage, resistance, blah, blah, blah. So I saw that your resistance was really low, and that's your unconscious resistance to change or cure. And literally that could be ancestral stuff that's hanging on. Maybe your grandpa died and his energy is still very remorseful, or, something like that. So that's tough to work with. What people can do is just meditation, Reiki, focusing their awareness. Maybe they can do hypnosis as well. But that unconscious resistance to change or cure, the only time that I really care about that number is when it's very low, because I know I'm not going to have success in treating people. I've gotten people off, I've cured diabetes type 1, I've gotten people off of high blood pressure meds, all that stuff. But if that R level is low, there's something deeper, like energy deeper in their family, in their energy. Maybe there's a curse that's been placed upon them. It's weird. I used to never.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, no. We in Indian culture, we kind of believe in that.
Yes, and I'm waking up to this. So my dad was, bless him because he's passed now. He was half English, half Ojibwe. And the Ojibwe, like the natives, they have this strong connection to the earth, to the stars, to all this energy stuff. So when I was a teenager, I started developing my powers, seeing ghosts and spirits and talking to animals, and they would listen, and they would talk back via telepathy and all this stuff. So it's really only, you probably heard about the bicycle accident I was in. My powers were severed. It's strange. Maybe they'll come back. I don't know, but like you get to a certain point and it's like, okay, the CIA does not want humans walking around who can change machines with the power of their mind. So that's a little bit dangerous. So scrolling back down on your PDF, what I've got is the voltammetric spinal signature. So voltammetric is just, it's measuring your resistance via EEG and ECG. So if you're resistant to something, that means there's an issue there. And if you're using a Rife device, for example, you're holding onto electrodes with your hands, you're going to feel like a little bit of a shock. Only when you need it, only when you have those worms inside you and they're dying off. So, right. Yep. And if you
so that looking at the report, is that the C1, C7,
yep.
T8, and
Yep.
T9?
And here's why I ignore all of this stuff, all the cervical, thoracic, and the lumbar. I ignore all of it because what am I going to do? I'm not a chiropractor. I'm not anything. And truly, the spine, I've not seen the spine misalign other things in the body. Let's say someone had a bike accident, car accident, and they have a twisted neck or spine or something. That will then lead to muscle tension. Maybe their hips are misaligned, but it's not going to lead to their organs suddenly misperforming. It's not going to cause stress to the heart. It's not going to cause stress to the digestive organs, all that kind of stuff. So for me, I skip right past it. And it changes too. Maybe those vertebrae are only stressed out right now because of how you were sleeping last night, or something like that. This PDF is like a 3-day screenshot, basically, plus or minus.
Yeah.
So I'm scrolling past, the little tabular information. Okay, so then we've got your organs. This stuff I pay attention to. So your stomach, 109, I take it with a grain of salt. Anything between 60 and 100, or 50-ish, and 100 is okay. Your stomach depends, but I also look at the traditional Chinese medicine sense of the stomach is your seat of emotions. That's how you process emotions. Your spleen as well. I can't quite remember the spleen is paired with, I want to say the gallbladder. And I can't remember what the emotion is, but I'm kind of looking more at your spleen thinking, okay, what's going on? Because after all this COVID stuff went around, I'm seeing without fail people having enlarged spleens, weakened kidneys, and I don't know if it's 5G or the coronavirus or what's going on, because the COVID vaccines have their own vaccine injuries. Those have been very well documented. But it's crazy, and the enlarged spleen then has the following symptoms of this, that, the other. Like people can't tolerate alcohol anymore. They have very low immune system, so they'll get ill very easily, all that kind of stuff. So I kind of want to look more at that, but at the same time, maybe we do another scan and you're back in a healthy range. Maybe your spleen is overreacting because you're fighting off cold at the time of reading. Any
And there are changes going on, because I stopped drinking, stopped smoking. So I'm sure there are, those effects are still bedding in.
Oh, absolutely. And literally, like as we speak, I'm just Google searching this stuff. Because my goodness, like just the other day, I forgot the word for the trapezius muscle. It's stuff that I've learned. I know this, but I forget this or that every now and then. That's why I have a computer. I'll just, look up this or that and be like, okay, here we go. So basically enlarged spleen symptoms. So I'm just going to ask you, V, because maybe the enlarged spleen is not just a temporary thing. So it's an enlarged spleen has the following symptoms. If you feel very full, very quickly after eating, so it can press on the stomach basically. If you feel discomfort or pain behind your left ribs, and if you have anemia or fatigue, you get tired easily. Now, also, this is different. Now, when I first got COVID, my mitochondria was just dead. Like it was flat. And every time, the cold or the flu goes around, it's actually COVID in disguise because my mitochondria, I feel it right away. Because I go jogging, I do a bit of, this and that yoga or whatever, but I'm just tired at a very muscular level. That's not me lacking magnesium and kidney stuffs. That's the mitochondria. So anemia and fatigue, but if the enlarged spleen is causing it, it's different than the mitochondria issues. Also, if you have frequent infections and if you bleed very easily. So do you, on a scale of 1 to 10?
Out of all of those, I would say fatigue. Yeah, that's probably the one that I can associate with. It's I track my sleep, so I know how I sleep each night, and I'm getting enough sleep. I'm not sleep deprived or anything, but then it's just like there will be times when I feel tired, and I think, why am I tired? So but the other thing, that's what kind of resonates to me.
Absolutely. And that tiredness is tough because it could be mitochondria. It could be a lack of just basic things. A lot of Africans have sickle cell anemia or this, that, the other, where they're just not getting, even if they're taking iron and B12, they're not absorbing it properly. And that's why I like these machines, because we can deep dive. We can really narrow down and see, okay, well, I see iron's in a healthy range, but you're not absorbing it or you're not utilizing it properly. So that would be something to look at. Like I would love to do another scan on you and just to see, okay, is the spleen still an issue? And if yes, you can buy a super simple device for, 400 or 500 pounds, whatever, and just zap your spleen every day for 5 minutes, the simple stuff like that. And truthfully, that's, it's not a simple fix. We have to look at why your spleen is enlarged. And usually, I've just kind of invented this, right? 15 years of practicing, you just kind of see the same patterns. So, if you don't mind me, having a bit of a pedantic lecture, there's basically only 5 reasons why people would get ill. So parasites are pathogens. It's a physical, infestation or whatever. So with the spleen, maybe you've got viruses hanging around. Maybe there's a worm that is, attached to your spleen and just really having it underperform. It could be a physical injury, like maybe the bicycle handles, I don't know, injured your spleen. And so it just hasn't really gotten back to 100% after that. The DNA, RNA, and chromosomes. So maybe you have metaplasia or hyperplasia. Your cells are not reproducing properly. I haven't seen Western medicine be able to diagnose it unless they literally cut out a piece and measure it. Western medicine. So archaic, but that can be fixed in 1 or 2 sessions, like really simply. The other one is, it's odd, but it's the magic stuffs. I've seen a lot of people have lots of fear because their father's practicing black magic against them, blah blah. It affects their kidneys, and then they have renal diabetes. So it's
Right. Yeah.
yeah. I know there were 5 things. The 5th escaped me, but yeah, there's,
Okay. That's all right. Yeah.
we can always get to the root cause of whatever's going on. If that organ is misperforming, we're gonna get to the bottom of it, definitely. So
Right. And do you do that by actually like using those frequencies associated with that particular organ? Or
yes, and this is where the old Royal Raymond Rife, all that kind of stuff. So for the organs themselves, it's usually sine wave in a higher frequency. So that's why I'm very particular about my tech specs before I buy any hardware. So you'd want specific frequencies for the organ. But if that organ is affected by parasites or pathogens, you'd need a lower frequency and a square waveform 50% duty cycle to kill them off. But before I go telling people, oh, kill off parasites, pathogens, I always have to give them the warning. Listen, if they don't have their detox pathways open, their body's gonna be clogged up with all these dead parasites, leaking heavy metals into their system. It's gonna do more stress on the body overall. So that's why we want to just take it slow. First let's work on, getting that organ back up to health. And if it still is misperforming or underperforming or whatever, then it's probably parasites and pathogens. So we just kind of, like any good doctor, we rule out this, rule out that.
yeah. A process of elimination.
Exactly. And the thing is, the way we go about it, we're not going to be causing undue stress, because I did that on myself. I zapped the crap out of myself. I had a Herxheimer reaction. Herxheimer was the last name of some guy who basically just found out, ooh, if you kill off too many things at once and you don't poop them out or pee them out, they're gonna, create blockage.
More problems.
Yeah. And then you're gonna have weird pains, you're gonna have headaches, and it just, yeah. So there's a way of going about gently doing things. So usually if I give instructions, people follow them, which is good. And by golly, I make them sign that waiver, disclaimer, whatever. If they don't, if they don't do what I say, they can expect, to feel poorly the next day or something. But usually Herxheimer reactions only last for about a day. I haven't seen them last, too much longer. But also with your target group, or, people that you're working with, the women who early menopause, the endocrine disorders, it's often Epstein-Barr virus, long Lyme disease, these terrible things. So when women come in, their hair's falling out, they stop menstruating in their late 30s. I know that's serious. Like, it's either iatrogenic caused, a corticosteroid injection in the hip caused it for one woman. 3 sessions got her right as rain. I think it was 2 maybe, actually. I can't remember. But and looking at these people who are so far gone, it's tough. It's tough. We have to very gently work with them, and they might take 6 months in order to build up their detox systems and then kill off the parasites, pathogens. And that's something that I'm not really called to do. I'm not a cheerleader. I'm not a support group, kind of volunteer, but someone will be. The right person for the job will step up to the plate, I'm sure. So yeah, that's the stomach and spleen. I'm not worrying too much about the stomach, because you also haven't told me about, having stomach acids, or, you haven't told me about too many physical symptoms that you've had.
No, if anything, like, and it's not constant. That, sometimes, if anything, I'll get like, I'll get gas where I'm just belching, and yeah. So, but that's not all the time either. So I don't know if that's something that I'm eating, or it's an issue with my stomach or my spleen or whatever. It's my dad. That will happen from time to time.
It could be a number of things. So with all that, the belching and stuff. So if it's flatulence not coming out the other end, it could be the stomach. What happens often is if people drink like tap water or anything on an empty stomach, there might be some burping just because of the minerals that are, in the tap water. Exactly. Yeah. But also I would be very careful. The rules of the stomach, like this, I just want to print it out on a simple A4 page and give it away to people, because really we shouldn't be combining proteins and carbs. We shouldn't be eating fruit with other foods, because fruit is so, gentle, I guess. It putrefies. we have to eat fruit, it's best on an empty stomach, maybe early in the morning, that kind of a thing. So it could just be your stomach is a bit tender, not only the emotional losses you've gone through, but also just stomach violations, mixing this, mixing that. I used to do the same. I used to, put my tofu with my pasta, but now I don't. Now I have pea protein pasta with my tofu mixed in with it. So if I have proteins, you can mix them with veg, that's fine. But if you have carbs, you can mix it with veg, that's fine, but don't mix your carbs and your proteins.